So let me talk you through the next generation of the analytical finance, risk, even banking platform architecture picture. The first column in this picture is what we've been talking about in almost all the sessions of conversations with Kip, the quantitative space. This space deals with structured data. There's a lot of work that needs to go on in this space to get our structured quantitative data in the right format, because right now so much of our quantitative data gives disparate answers depending upon where we ask the question of. The data warehouse can contain a lot of different answers to the same questions. We have to get it consistent, and we have to keep a customer contract identifier or vendor contract identifier or process identifier on the low-level data because so many of our questions are going to devolve down to needing to understand that level of detail to have transparency. But our processes won't end there. The next column of this architecture diagram is the qualitative data, and typically this is in unstructured data. The blockchain smart contracts are a nice idea, but really what the blockchain smart contracts are trying to do is to take a contract and turn it into structured data. It's difficult to imagine how we're going to be able to take all the complexity in a contract and put it into a single structured format. They're going to continue to have elements that live in an unstructured format. And that data has to be understood, has to be able to be recognized and read and used effectively. So much of our work in natural language processing is working to make sense of unstructured data. But working in just unstructured data alone is not adequate. Working in unstructured data alone does not answer most of the difficult questions we have in the world. So many of our answers come from quantitative, numeric structured data. We have to have a way of marrying these two. Just an example, as a simple example of a problem. If I wanted to ask of a system to give me an answer, show me the contract attributes for contracts where I'm losing 20% in the countries comprising Europe, where does that question start? Well, the answer to that question starts in structured quantitative data. It starts with contracts in Europe where I'm losing 20%. But then I would need contract attributes. And like I said, thinking that we're going to put all the contract attributes in structured data is going to cut us off from so many of the contract attributes. What we need is a qualitative engine that can understand unstructured data. And so we link from that list of contracts in the structured world that we're losing 20% over to the unstructured data that give us the contract attributes. This combination of these two is really what's going to drive a huge amount of value in the world. So much of it will sit in the unstructured world, will sit within contracts, but it also sits within regulations, within policies, within procedures, within customer data, within news feeds. All of that kind of thing is going to come from the qualitative side, and the quantitative side is going to continue to be the numbers that move the market in the world. That's not the end of this process. Once you have those two in place and you can understand and get information and understanding and knowledge out of that set of data, then where we need to go next is we need to go into the cognitive space. We need to take both of those sets of data into the cognitive space and use the machines to do things that people can't do, which is deep learning and machine learning. All of those kinds of processes, risk often lives in this space because risk is a forecast process. So much of our quantitative data is historical looking, is backwards facing, it's financial data from the past. This space takes and projects it into the future. That is going to be a very powerful space, and companies that get to the first two things in order are going to have a huge advantage in this third qualitative cognitive space. Now, that's not the end of this. The last column of this is that all of this data gets taken forward into a user experience to be able to explore and understand that data. and using and understand, for example, customer profitability, risk-adjusted customer profitability, risk-adjusted profitability for future forecast and other kinds of metric engines. Those kinds of things are going to have tremendous impact in the organization, being able to use that data to help service customers more effectively, to help provide them the right kind of service for what they're willing to pay for the product. That is going to be something that's not stuck within the finance department or just the CFO or just the executive levels. It's going to drive people's behavior in the rest of the organization. That data is going to have so much value, though, that it's going to go beyond just the use in the organization. Our customers are going to want to be able to see and use and understand that data. Imagine, if you will, having a platform that plays to the strengths of perhaps like a Facebook or like a Google or like an Amazon. What are the key data attributes of those environments? At Facebook, a key data concept is a post. In Amazon, a key data concept is a product. In Google, the key data concept is a web page. Well, what's going to be the key data concept within a social commerce environment, a social banking environment? I submit that it's going to be a set of posted balances and a set of transactions. And that environment is going to be important whether I'm an employee looking at a set of processes and a set of customers, whether I'm an accounting person that needs to report on an entire segment of the organization or entire legal entity, or if I'm just a customer, I want to understand my own transactions and their cumulative effect over time and what are my balance and my positions in various things. I want to understand those, and then I want to take and make new transactions. I want to then see the impact of those transactions. Maybe I want to see them posted in a pro forma format. Show me what if I did this transaction. But if I decide to go do the transaction, I want to see updated very quickly what was the impact of those transactions. I might want to set limits where I say, hey, I don't want, here's my budget limits. Don't let me purchase things that are in this sort of range. I might want to go that far in setting this environment up. That sort of data environment is going to have so much value, and the concepts behind it are going to be so powerful, but it's going to combine all four of these pillars to come up to something that will be very useful across the globe. It will take out of so much of our reporting processes huge amounts of cost, and it will provide people with the power to understand and measure so much more of their world. That's what I think is the architecture of the future.